we must not give way to emotion, however much the human response. Someone's dead, it affects us. I grew up in 1947. I was put on a train when I was 4 years old from Delhi and crossed the northern Punjab plains to Karachi, where every train heading to Karachi was being slaughtered by the Hindus and the Sikhs, except the driver. And every train heading to Delhi was slaughtered by the Muslims, except the driver. So an entire train would arrive at the railway platform at the destination with an entire train with all the passengers, women, children, men, slaughtered. This is what people were doing to each other when I was a child. I don't want to repeat this throughout my life. So at this stage in life, if we can do something which transcends emotion without having to blame each other, we've got to do it, because each one of us has a long list in our ledgers, what you did to me and I did to you. And that's a game that no one is going to win.
Dr. Pearl, your response when Danny was killed was part of your anger at Islam, and if so, how did you get over that?
I'm an engineer. I don't get angry very quickly.
Except when your bridges collapse.
Yes. I aim at the results, and I need to see what is most, pragmatically speaking, what is the most effective way of preventing such happenings from occurring in the future. And I don't want my friend Akbar to get away so easy with the answer to the question that you asked. Okay. So what we heard from you, Akbar, is that there is a minority with a small base that was fanatic or literalists, and the whole religion should not be blamed for those who hijacked it. Okay. Now, I read some criticism of that line of defense. It goes like that. Religions do not get hijacked, especially religions who lay claim for eternity and universality. Religions should come equipped with safeguards against attempted hijacking. And somehow, I think Christianity is more or less proven itself safe or able to marginalize attempts of hijacking, and so does Judaism. I wonder if you have the same thing to say about Islam. Namely, of course, if there is a blame, I don't say there is blame, but there is something there that needs to be looked at, examined. I wouldn't point at the Quran, because I know I read some of the Quran. For every hostile verse, you have a compassionate verse, like in the Torah.
And the Bible.
And the Bible, yes, the Torah and the Bible. But I would question whether the social organization which evolved to protect Islam, to propagate it, to harness it, right? That social organization needs reform. I wonder what your opinion on
Today you've raised several questions. You're an engineer, I'm an anthropologist, but we are talking of theology. You raised the issue of theology of Islam, religion. You talked of society, and you've ended up talking about politics. And all these are important because they should point out to the complexity.
No, social organization, namely the hierarchy of the imam, the muftis. And so
that's the sociology of society. Now, I would put it like this today, that the Abrahamic faiths, this is how I would analyze it in terms of theology in the context of society. The Abrahamic faiths, and you used the word reformation.
I didn't.
You said reform Islam.
No, I didn't say it.
You said, I think...
After 15 dialogues, I know what words not to say.
Judea, you certainly...
I said to examine.
You certainly improved. You didn't use reformation, but you said reform. The process that Christianity went through, the Reformation, or that Judaism went through in the last 2 or 3 centuries, is a process I believe that Islam is going through right now. We don't all have to have the same rhythm of history. We can't judge other societies by the trajectory of our own society. We cannot say, we had the Reformation 500 years ago, why haven't you had it 500 years ago? Islam, for various reasons, had a totally different trajectory. I would say till the 18th century, you had the great Muslim empires, the Ottomans, the Safavids, the Mughals. Then began a whole process of decline, 18th, 19th centuries. Not very much happening there, no critical thought. It is now, the 21st century, that globalization, modernization, post-modernization, and Islam come face to face, head on. And this process, this very vigorous process of thinking and rethinking issues, I believe is taking place now. Again, I'm very cautious, and Judea's pointed out the word Reformation and why I was sensitive about it, because simply as an anthropologist, I feel very uncomfortable about taking concepts and words from one culture and imposing them on another, because sometimes they're meaningless. Fundamentalist, Reformation, they mean something else over here in the West, they mean something else in the Muslim world. In the Muslim world right now, because of 9/11, because of all the things I pointed out, there is, and the internet and television and the debate about Islam, you have millions of people right now debating the core issues of Islam and challenging the elder generation. As far as marginalizing the men of violence or extremism or allowing them to quote unquote hijack a religion, I would not let you, Judea, get away that easily. There are people in the Muslim world, not only in the Muslim world, who would point to European countries, Christian countries, in the last century, who have plunged the world into some terrible atrocities and events of history. They are technically Christian countries, but would you say they are good Christians? I would not, because they're then deviating from the tenets of their own faith. Similarly, if a Muslim does something which is completely against the tenets of his own faith and happens to be a Muslim, or maybe even believing that he's doing something or she's doing something on behalf of that particular religion, that is something that, as far as normative attitudes to the person's behavior is concerned, we're able to judge and say, this, according to your own religion, is not true faith. You have betrayed your own faith. As you're seeing, Judea, as you're seeing in the Muslim world. After 9/11, you know that every major Muslim capital, Cairo, and all the great universities, they all condemned what took place that day, because there was a sense that this is an outrage and unacceptable. So I would say that we need to study each other and look at each other, not so much as people who are pulling out the nitty-gritty of where we can, as it were, say, this is your fault, this is my fault, but to be able to say that this, in essence, is what your faith is all about, where your faith can inspire, help us transcend. And for Muslims, I would say we are passing through a phase of history. I'm not pessimistic at all. On this journey, I met hundreds and hundreds of Muslims, and I met Jews and Christians along the journey who are optimistic, full of vitality, full of hope, and determined to do something about it, and living in very difficult circumstances. We are talking in Kansas, in this enlightened company, but there are people talking like this, enlightened enough, in very difficult circumstances.